Spiritual aristocrats are the hope of humanity. Xiefeng, January 15th, 2024. Translation edited by Qin Yu. Firstly, the aristocrats discussed in this article are not those defined in the traditional sense or in dictionaries who inherit titles, possess a large amount of wealth and power, and enjoy different rights from ordinary people under the law. Instead, they refer to those who are noble in spirit, rich in soul, not manipulated by the power, capital, cultural customs, and trends of the real world, independent, noble in character, and elegant. When we observe human society, more than 95% of people are swept away by power, money, customs, and trends. That is to say, as long as people worship and pursue power and status, chase material wealth, follow the rules and regulations of traditional customs and rules, and chase the tide of the times, then they are vulgar people, and their personality cannot rise to the temperament and realm of aristocrats. In the traditional definition, the opposite of an aristocrat is a commoner. In my understanding, the opposite of an aristocrat is a beggar. The reason why an aristocrat is that he has no demands on the outside world, no flattery, no fawning, no bribery, no kneeling, no compromise, no expectations, no confrontation. The reason why a beggar is that he has demands on the outside world. As long as there are demands, he is a beggar. For example, a rich man. If he has demands on government officials, this rich man is a beggar. A president. If he has demands on the people, this president is a beggar. For example, an entrepreneur can apply for a loan from a bank through regular procedures, but if he obtains a loan by bribing or winning over bank employees, then this entrepreneur is also a beggar. A university professor. If he bows and scrapes to the principal or the board of directors in order to keep his job or get promoted, then this university professor is a beggar. No matter who it is, as long as one has demands on the outside world, has expectations, and tramples on one's own dignity, personality, freedom, and independence, then he is a thorough beggar. Why do I say that Chanyuan Celestials should all be spiritual aristocrats? Because in the 20 years since the birth of the life of Chanyuan, we only walk the way of the greatest creator and the path of Chanyuan. We do not rely on others for survival. We never bribe those with power and influence. We do not envy power and status. We do not care for luxury cars, luxury houses, yachts, luxury goods. We do not chase gold, silver, jewelry, and material capital. We treat presidents, rich people, celebrities, masters equally. We only rely on our own diligence and wisdom to seek survival, rather than relying on fawning, flattering, bowing and scraping, compromising. Seeking survival even more will not rely on speculation, violation of the law and crime, and harm to life, harm to others, harm to society to seek survival. If you want to suppress us to make us submit, there is no door. If you want to threaten and tempt us to conquer us, there is no door. If you want to buy us with money, there is no door. If you want to force us to submit through various restrictions and blockades, there is no door. Even within the life of Chanyuan, no one should impose his will on others, even if it is a tour guide. You only have to be a tour guide for tourists. You have no qualifications and power to impose your will on any Chanyuan Celestial, unless I am willing, otherwise, I still ignore you. Similarly, any crown of Chanyuan Celestial should not threaten or kidnap and restrict the tour guide. If you think the tour guide is fun, play together. If you think the tour guide is not fun, the tour guide doesn't want to play with you. We look at the fisherman. He hangs the bait that the fish likes to eat on the fish hook. If the fish thinks it's easy and cheap and feels that it's a waste not to eat it, once swallowed, its life is over. We look at the devil and his son and grandson. They use money, power, fame, status, beauty, and various small favors to fish for people. People are rushing to these baits. Once hooked, their small lives are over. These baits are like a whirlpool. Once you whirl in, you can no longer get the joy, happiness, freedom, contentment, and dignity of life, and you can no longer step into the gate of heaven. May there be more and more spiritual aristocrats born in the world. The history of mankind for thousands of years tells us that material aristocrats and power aristocrats will not bring freedom, peace, dignity, and happiness to mankind. Only spiritual aristocrats are the hope of mankind. 格局和境界发源于理想. Patterns and realms originate from ideals. Xiefeng, January 16th, 2024. Translation edited by Qinyu. The grandeur of one's ideals determines the breadth of one's patterns and the depth of one's realms. The ideal of U.S. President Donald Trump was to make America great again. The ideal of the former Japanese Prime Minister Kono Fumimaro was to establish the Greater East Asia Co-Prosperity Sphere. Hitler's ideal was, I want to stand at the highest point in the world and shout to all the people in the world, attention. Here, we first put aside the personal qualities and the harm their ideals have caused to humanity and only talk about the role their ideals have played for them personally. The reason why Trump became the president of the United States is not because his ideal is to marry 10 more wives and have 100 more children, but to make America great again. Hitler's ideal is not to become a billionaire and glorify his ancestors, but to become a world leader. His ideal made Hitler. There is a joke that says Thief A is studying fashion, and Thief B asks, are you going to buy fashion? Thief A says, I'm studying where the pockets of the fashion are. Studying the location of the pockets of clothes is for stealing wallets. Such a smart person can only become an invincible thief at most. Readers, please think about it. What is your ideal? Let's take China as an example to look at some data. Since the 18th National Congress, nearly 5 million corrupt officials have been punished. From 1988 to 2021, 33.48 million criminals have been arrested. At present, online information says that there are 780 million people in debt in China, with an average debt of 140,000 yuan per person. On average, nearly 300,000 people commit suicide each year. These data, along with those who are plagued by diseases, often quarrel and fight, etc., a large part of people live a hard and bitter life. The above data show the tragedy of life, and the root cause of the tragedy lies in their ideals. The ideal of 5 million corrupt officials is to have as much money as possible. The ideal of 33.48 million criminals cannot be separated from individual selfishness and ego. The ideal of nearly 800 million indebted people cannot be separated from satisfying vanity. The ideal of 300,000 suicides cannot escape the lack of correct faith. From this, we can gain an insight. The lower and closer the ideal, the harder the life. The higher and farther the ideal, the more glorious the life. Let's compare to see if this prediction is accurate. There are 8 people. Person 1's ideal is to have a house in his lifetime, give birth to 3 children. Person 2's ideal is to become a civil servant and get a secure job. Person 3's ideal is to glorify his ancestors and become a superior person. Let relatives and friends, classmates, colleagues, neighbors envy. Person 4's ideal is to open a shop with a monthly income of 20,000 yuan. Person 5's ideal is to run a listed company, famous all over the world. Person 6's ideal is to be president. Person 7's ideal is to become a Buddha. Person 8's ideal is to let everyone live a happy, joyful, free, and blessed life. From the life ideals of the above 8 people, we can basically draw a conclusion that the grander the ideal, the more fulfilling the life, and the ideal determines a person's achievement. We can also draw a conclusion that the probability of person 3 and person 5 turning to crime is relatively high, while the probability of person 7 and person 8 being corrupt and committing crimes is almost 0, and the possibility of person 6 becoming Hitler is relatively large. At present, this era is an era of money, capital, and power operation. People have basically given up their ideals. As long as they talk about ideals, people generally think that it is a void thing. Because people no longer talk about ideals, there are contradictions, conflicts, and confrontations everywhere. The confrontation of consciousness between the East and the West, the confrontation of interests between countries, conflicts between many countries and nations, the survival confrontation between people and nature, the cognitive confrontation between people and people. We can't see the beautiful prospect of human civilization. We can't find a few people with grand ideals. Of course, we can find people who have the ideal of realizing the great harmony world on the internet. If we carefully examine it, their great harmony world is just a slogan and a cover, without specific content. A great harmony world, without specific content may turn the whole earth into a prison. Imagine if a dictator who does not allow people to have personal freedom, freedom of speech, and freedom of thought rules the whole world and realizes the great harmony world. Isn't that scary? So, I hope that more and more people with saintly thoughts and grand ideals will be born among human beings. 正负能量之何为零法则适用范畴 The scope of application of the law of positive and negative energy, summing to zero Xiefeng. January 26, 2024. Translation edited by Qin. While exploring the origin of the universe and the balance of cosmic energy, especially the principles of natural law, the mechanism of nature, and the principle of justice in Tao, I discovered this law, namely, the sum of positive and negative energy is zero. If there is a positive universe, there is a negative universe. If there is positive energy, there is negative energy. If there is a positive electron, there is a negative electron. If there are people, there are anti-people. If there are gods, there are demons. If there is heaven, there is hell, etc. This law indicates that what is given and what is gained are equal, or in other words, giving plus gaining equals zero. This law is the balance mechanism of the universe, ensuring that the development of anything does not go to extremes. This balance mechanism is the natural law and also embodies the justice of Tao. Understanding and applying this law, we will know the mechanism of nature. Now a question arises, since the sum of positive and negative energy is zero, then, is happiness plus pain equals zero? Is love plus hate equals zero? Is cruelty plus kindness equals zero? Is enjoyment plus suffering equals zero? Etc. There is a very obvious fact that seems to prove that this law only applies to the category of energy and does not apply to other categories. This fact is that the super-celestial beings in the Celestial Islands continent of the Elysium world can enjoy eternity without worries and pains, and they will not suffer or be punished, while many lives trapped in hell are irretrievable and have to endure eternal pain. From the perspective of a single life form, the law of the sum of positive and negative energy being zero is not established, and there is no formula of happiness plus pain equals zero. This means that the law of the sum of positive and negative energy being zero applies to the macroscopic, not to the microscopic. It applies to the whole, not to the individual. Is this really the case? Let some life or lives enjoy a good life forever for no reason. Let some life or lives suffer pain and torture forever for no reason. Is this possible? If it is possible, where is the natural law? Where is the justice of the universe? If it is not possible, where is the principle? Is it necessary to go through suffering and torture to enjoy a good and happy life? Do you have to endure hardship before you can go to heaven? What I know and understand is that the law of the sum of positive and negative energy being zero applies to all fields, both macroscopic and microscopic, both the whole and the individual. There is no unprovoked blessing to enjoy, and there is no unprovoked sin to suffer. If you want to enjoy the benefits of heaven forever, you must meet the standards of heaven for life. This standard mainly depends on the following three items. The quality of life must meet the standard. Have enough merit, that is, capital. No worldly ties, no debt. To meet the above three standards, it is actually a very difficult and painful process. In this sense, happiness plus pain equals zero is established. Once the standard is met, you can enjoy eternal happiness, but the possibility of meeting the standard is very small. It is a miracle if 1% of humans meet the standard. If you do not meet the standard, you will inevitably suffer endless suffering and torture. Reincarnation endlessly, there is no end in sight, because we will find that we are suffering from pain and torture, but we are enjoying short-term happiness and joy. This is like a person. Every day go to work to make money, spend all the money you earn every day. You can't save a penny in the bank of heaven. Where is the money to enjoy a good life in heaven? Some people complain that the greatest creator is unfair, saying that the common people are suffering pain, enduring hardship, and bearing sins. Why doesn't the greatest creator relieve the suffering of the common people? I asked, who among the common people is willing to heed the call of the greatest creator and walk the path of the greatest creator? Can you find one? While disregarding the call of the greatest creator and complaining about the perceived injustice of the greatest creator, can you really blame the greatest creator? Perhaps someone might ask, how is it that the law of the sum of positive and negative energy becoming zero fails for those wealthy individuals who, without enduring much pain or torment, enjoy a life of luxury? The law has not failed. The perceived failure of the law is due to two reasons. In summary, the law of the sum of positive and negative energy applies across all domains. Domains. 一个小资本家论雪峰是共产主义. A small capitalist discusses Xiefeng-style communism. Xiefeng. January 30th, 2024. Translation edited by Qinyu. I was born into poverty and, through hard work, became a minor capitalist for a time. After becoming a capitalist, I employed two workers in my home. One was a young girl responsible for washing clothes, cleaning dishes, and maintaining indoor cleanliness. The other was a middle-aged man responsible for maintaining flowers, trees, lawns, swimming pools, keeping vehicles clean, and feeding two large wolf dogs. The gate didn't require management because it was a remote-controlled electric gate. This comfortable and leisurely life lasted for over a decade, and I have the following insights. For society to progress, there must be wealth disparity, and there must be upper, middle, and lower tiers. The upper tier thinks, the middle tier understands management, and the lower tier serves the upper and middle tiers. This is an ideal social situation. Equal poverty or common prosperity will result in everyone not being able to live a comfortable and leisurely life. There are a small number of people in the population who are good at thinking and taking risks. If they are asked to do management or service, they cannot do it well. That would be a waste of a lot of resources in society. The middle tier is good at and understands management. They don't think long-term. Letting them do service work would make them feel unwilling. The lower tier doesn't want to think and doesn't understand management. It's very suitable for them to do service work. In this way, everyone is happy. I employed two workers in my home. Because I got rid of the trivial and time-consuming housework, I could have plenty of free time to study and improve my ability to manage things and handle more important work. And the two workers, because I employed them, not only had food to eat and a house to live in, but also could take care of their families. So I was happy, and they were satisfied. If a society no longer has class differences and everyone's living conditions are the same, then it is equivalent to punishing diligence and rewarding laziness. The result will definitely lead to the poverty of all people. A society without wealth disparity and class existence is definitely the worst society. At the same time, the better the social welfare, the higher the taxes on capitalists, the greater the power of unions, and the higher the minimum wage standards for workers. This society is a society that deviates from the natural way. It is a very unjust and unfair society. Its direction is bound to collapse. From this, let's examine the so-called Xiefeng-style communism. If this Xiefeng-style communism is what we understand and envision about the concepts and practices of communist society throughout human history, then undoubtedly, Xiefeng-style communism will certainly be a flash in the pan. It is purely utopian and will inevitably fail as it progresses. The reason why Xiefeng-style communism has existed for over a decade under challenging conditions and is still operational is that it is definitely not the type of communism we think and imagine. It must meet the following conditions. It must allow those who think, are good at management, and provide service to feel satisfied and happy. Every member must be wealthy in terms of spiritual and mental wealth, and there cannot be a parasite who benefits without working. Every member must be selfless, without an ego. There must be a goal that is more beautiful than the enjoyment of being human. The soul garden of every member must be beautiful, and there cannot be any emotions of jealousy, comparison, greed, resentment, etc. Its management system cannot be autocratic and centralized, nor can it be a democratic central system. It must be heavenly. Its founders and successors must not have a penny of personal property. It must be against human nature. If the above 8 points cannot be achieved, humph. Xiefeng-style communism will definitely be a fleeting, colorful wave that rises in human society. Can it be done? The difficulty is greater than landing on Mars. Let's wait and see. 讲道理者不懂道理. Those who argue about reason do not understand it. Xiefeng. January 31st, 2024. Translation edited by Qinyu. A bee and a fly got into a dispute. The bee stated, "The most delicious thing in the world is the fragrance of flowers." The fly retorted, "The most fragrant thing in the world is dog feces." Neither could convince the other, leading to a fight. Three individuals, A, B, and C, got into a conflict that lasted for 2,000 years without a clear winner or loser. Person A argued, "The most important thing in life is money. Money can make the impossible possible, buy the best services in the world, afford luxury houses, cars, yachts, and enable travel around the globe. Money can work miracles, allow people to live with dignity, and its benefits are endless. People perish for money, birds perish for food. Hence, the most crucial thing in life is to devise ways to earn money." Person B countered, "The most important thing in life is affection. Money is as worthless as dung, while affection is priceless. Where there is affection, there is warmth, peace, and beautiful weather. Where affection is absent, there is chaos and turmoil. When affection exists, love flourishes and marriages last a century. When affection is absent, families are destroyed, and lives are lost in an instant. Money without affection is like a haunting ghost, while affection without money is akin to a divine deity. Therefore, the most important thing in life is to nurture, maintain, protect, and cherish affection." Person C interjected, "The most important thing in life is neither money nor affection, but the pursuit of truth. Truth enlightens the mind, keeps people on the right path, enriches the heart, and leads people to a brighter future." Persons A, B, and C could not convince each other, leading to daily arguments and occasional physical fights. The chairman, general manager, and secretary started fighting. The chairman declared, "Sell all the company's stocks." The general manager objected, "It's a bull market, a golden opportunity to make money. We can't sell." The secretary added, "The overall market situation indicates that the economic crisis has not yet arrived. There is still profit to be made. It is right not to sell. However, gray rhinos and black swans may appear at any time. It might be wise to sell now." The chairman and the general manager each had their own reasons for selling or not selling. The secretary added fuel to the fire by playing both sides, leading to heated arguments that left the company's prospects in jeopardy. So, who is right, the bee or the fly? Persons A, B, or C? The chairman, general manager, or secretary? The answer is that each has their own reason. Thus, we find that everyone in the world has their own reason, and everyone's reason is right. If anyone wants others to accept their reason, it just proves that they don't understand reason. So, we can draw a revelation. No one should impose their own reason, but simply let their own qualities shine. So, how can we avoid quarrels, arguments, and even fights caused by reasoning? The answer is, whoever is responsible, whoever bears the consequences, they have the final say. 我对幸福的理解. My understanding of happiness. Xiefeng. February 4th, 2024. Translation edited by Qinyu. Let's first look at the following 4 phenomena. When I was a child, there was no electricity, running water, radio, television, or mobile phone in my home. There were no ready-made clothes for sale in the stores. Clothes were made by hand from fabric bought from the store. In winter, the water we drank was spring water carried from 2 kilometers away in wooden buckets. The most vivid memories from my childhood are of spending all day playing or catching fish by the canal or river in the summer, herding sheep on the river beach, playing hide and seek or poker with a few friends, pulling pigweed in the cornfield, or carrying a dozen eggs in a basket to the store to exchange for kerosene and salt. I can't remember wearing any new clothes, but every time I recall, the scenes I can remember are all filled with happiness. I lived in Zimbabwe, Africa for more than 10 years and spent nearly 2 years in many remote rural areas. In the countryside, People seem to do nothing all day, gathering together to chat or listen to music and dance. I have been to many poor thatched houses. Inside the house, apart from a pot and a few bowls, a blanket spread on the ground, and a few hanging clothes, there are no other furnishings and utensils. But they seem to be born optimists, laughing and dancing all the time, seemingly without any worries or anxieties. I stayed in a primitive tribe in Vanuatu, Oceania, for 2 months. I lived in a guest house provided by the tribal chief. This guest house was drafty on all sides, the ground was sandy, and the roof was thatched. There was a rat's nest in the thatched roof, and from time to time, baby rats would fall onto the bed. A pair of pants and a shirt hanging on the grass wall were bitten by rats after a few days. The water we drank was rainwater collected from a bucket under the eaves. There was no electricity, so I bought a solar panel from the city to charge my phone and provide lighting. At night, I often heard people shouting, probably singing and dancing. During the day, I saw people sitting or lying under a thatched roof with no walls on all sides, on an old carpet. A kettle was placed on a stove made of stones, and steam was coming out of the kettle. They were drinking tea. I don't know what kind of tea. Anyway, it was the leaves of a plant. Drinking tea, 3 or 5 people chatting and laughing together. I occasionally received some food sent by people nearby, either papaya, bananas and mangoes, or occasionally they would kill a cow, and I would also buy some to eat. Apart from salt, there were no other condiments. There are clear rivers here. Bathing is done in the river, and clothes are washed in the river as well. I've been living in rural Canada for 7 years. The area is vast and sparsely populated, and every household lives in a villa. Apart from going to the supermarket in town and the annual garlic festival, people rarely gather together. Each family lives alone, which is probably why people like to go to church on Sundays, because only by going to church can people have the opportunity to interact and communicate. For 7 years, no police or government department staff have ever come to my house. Occasionally, I would go to Vancouver for a few days, lock the door, there are no anti-theft doors and windows, and leaving things like lawnmowers and small carts outside at will. The gate is never closed. After a few days, I came back and everything is as usual, with no signs of thieves. I hardly see any Chinese people all year round, and I have little contact with my neighbors. On Sundays, when I want to sleep, absolutely no one will come to visit and disturb me. Although the winter is a bit long, the interior is still warm. In winter, there is nothing to do. For several months, apart from surfing the internet and using the phone, all that's left is eating and sleeping. So, what do these 4 phenomena illustrate? They illustrate the essence of happiness. 选最艰难的那条路走. Choose the hardest path. Xiefeng. February 13th, 2024. Translation edited by Qinyu. Let's consider the following 8 paths, and we choose which one to take. Herding sheep, selling sheep, building houses, marrying, having children, and letting children herd more sheep. Farming, selling harvested grains or vegetables and fruits, earning some money to build a house, marry, have children, let children go to university, and let children leave the countryside. Working for a boss year after year, earning a monthly salary, and maintaining the livelihood of the whole family. Striving to be a civil servant, working for the state, receiving a decent monthly salary, and maintaining the livelihood of the whole family. Opening a shop, whether it's reselling clothes, shoes, socks, hardware, electrical appliances, groceries, or engaging in catering or repair. The monthly income is higher than working for a private boss or the state, and you can live a comfortable life. Running a company and doing business, no matter what you do, as long as you employ more than 8 people to work for you, that's a company or enterprise, and you can live a moderately comfortable life. Engaging in finance, opening a bank, letting other people's money circulate through your hands, extracting a bit of commission, and you will have a steady stream of money, and you can live a very comfortable life. Being an official, a high-ranking official, using power to control more resources, you will benefit infinitely, and the benefits are endless. The above are 8 paths in traditional industries, and the following are 8 paths in non-traditional industries. Live streaming to sell goods. As long as you can live stream on the internet, Whether it's preaching Buddhism or showing nudity, maximizing traffic, the more fans, the greater the value, not to mention selling goods. Collecting advertising fees can bring in a lot of money. Running study classes, based on your own fame and knowledge or professional qualifications, seize people's inner desires to run study classes. Let people pay fees. The bigger the fame, the more expensive the fees, you will get rich quickly. Creating a platform, in the era of mobile internet, as long as you set up a platform on the internet, let some people with needs achieve their goals through your platform. Each time a goal is achieved, collect a commission. Money will flow into your pocket like a stream. Reselling information and resources, any information, as long as it is not public, can be converted into money. Steal information from somewhere, and then sell it to people who need information. You can make money. The more confidential the information, the more valuable it is. Obtain some kind of resource, and then sell the resource to people who need it. You can get a large or huge amount of money at once. Being a master, according to scientific research, 20% of people are brainless. In today's era, knowledge in any field can be obtained instantly from the internet, especially with the birth of ChatGPT-4. Whatever knowledge you want, it can push it to you instantly in this way, as long as you pretend to be a master, and then show off the knowledge given by ChatGPT. People will believe you and become your followers. Making money from followers is a business with no cost and high profit. Creating communication software. As long as you can program, you can create a large amount of software programs, from enterprise data management to games to social networking, from cloud computing to national defense, big data to dating between men and women. As long as you design and create it, people will buy and participate, and there is money to be made. Being a hacker, invading the internal information library of others or an organization, retrieving information, and then converting the information into your own income, such as retrieving someone's bank information. You can easily transfer the money in someone else's bank to your own hands, retrieving the corruption information or loot information of a high official. You can use this to blackmail the high official to meet your own needs. Establishing an invisible empire. Anyone, from the president to the billionaire, from the Nobel Prize winner to the celebrity, has their own weaknesses or worth. As long as you pinch the weakness, they can obediently obey. As long as you offer enough benefits, people can sell their souls. Of course, this is something that people with extraordinary high IQ can do. So, which of the above traditional and non-traditional industries is the easiest and which is the hardest? The answer is, the first one is the easiest, the eighth one is the hardest. From the first to the eighth, the difficulty increases gradually. We will find that the easier the thing is to do, the less promising it is, the more likely it is to survive at the bottom of society, the more fragile its living conditions are, the more likely it is to be restricted and hit by the survival rules of the human-animal circle. Just like a pyramid, the lower you are, the greater the weight and pressure you bear, the harder it is to survive. This enlightens us that the lower you are in society, the harder the path you should choose from a young age. Never choose the easiest path, because once you choose the easy path, the result is that you will suffer and be tired all your life. At the bottom of society, in addition to the exploitation of the upper class, the harm at the lower level is even worse. Just like a poor family, the quarrels, conflicts, and confrontations between family members are more than those between members of a wealthy family. So, what is the hardest path in human society? The answer is, surpass the president and billionaires and enter the kingdom of freedom. 生命长远导游 2024 告白 Confession of Life Genuine Guide 2024 Xiefeng February 18th, 2024 Translation edited by Qinyu. Apart from understanding and knowing the path from the mortal world to the 1,000-year world, 10,000-year world, and celestial islands continent of the Elysium world, I confess that I lack knowledge in all other areas. Therefore, I have the following confessions. I will not collaborate with any individual, group, organization, political party, religion, or country. Therefore, do not seek collaboration with me. You handle your affairs, and I will handle mine. Your actions will not affect me, and my actions will not affect you. I do not seek assistance from any individual, group, organization, political party, religion, or country. My affairs are matters of the greatest Creator. I rely solely on the greatest Creator, not on others. Therefore, no one should harbor thoughts such as, I want to help the guide, or I am helping the guide. You handle your affairs, and I will handle mine. What and how you choose to do is your business, not mine, and my business is not your business. No one should offer me advice or suggestions, nor prompt or instruct me on what to do and how to do it. I have a clear understanding of what I am doing, what I want to do, and how I will do it. I do not need anyone's prompts, suggestions, or ideas. My only concern is how people can live to become celestial beings and how life can ascend to heaven. I do not concern myself with the affairs of any country, government leader, religion, or political party. I am not a saint, nor am I a good or bad person, neither kind nor evil. Therefore, I do not concern myself with the world's pain and joy, nor with anyone's basic needs, birth, aging, sickness, and death. I will neither help nor harm people. Anyone who studies the Chanyuan corpus and Siefeng corpus does so voluntarily, not because I require or force them to. Anyone who propagates the Chanyuan values and the second home lifestyle does so consciously and voluntarily, not because I arrange or require it. If you benefit from the corpus and its propagation, that is your blessing and the result of your efforts. Therefore, do not praise or extol me, because your benefit has nothing to do with me. Similarly, if you suffer, sin, and tire from the corpus and its propagation, that is your own doing, and it has nothing to do with me. I am only responsible for guiding Chanyuan celestials, and I am not responsible for anyone who is not a Chanyuan celestial. The rise and fall of the world may be the responsibility of every individual, but it has nothing to do with me. The so-called guidance of Chanyuan celestials is merely writing articles. As for how Chanyuan celestials act and what they say, it all depends on their own enlightenment and voluntary action. I will not arrange or require anyone to do or say anything. What Chanyuan celestials want to say and do is entirely their own business, not mine. If my previous statements and actions contradict the content above, that is entirely my mistake. This will be the standard moving forward. The above confession is intended to inform everyone, including Chanyuan celestials, that anyone wishing to communicate with me should only discuss life and life. Avoid discussing any other topics, as this can minimize communication costs and greatly save time and energy. Apart from life and life, I do not comprehend the rest, nor do I wish to. Thank you for your understanding and cooperation. 人无目标必平庸. People without goals must be mediocre. Siefeng. February 27th, 2024. Translation edited by Yu. The difference between mediocrity and excellence lies in one's goals. The grander the goal, the more exceptional the life. The smaller the goal, the more mediocre the life. The grander the goal, the richer the resources. The smaller the goal, the scarcer the resources. Being at the top, overlooking all the small mountains, when your goal is to be at the top, all other beings appear mediocre. Once life reaches the top, what will you see? You will realize that kings, presidents, and billionaires are all mediocre. Once life reaches the top, what resources are available? All resources in the world become accessible, not just natural resources. Even countries, political parties, religions, people become usable resources. Even gods, demons, celestial beings, monsters, ghosts will become usable resources. Once life reaches the top, there is only room for games and entertainment and nothing else to do. Even if you could become the president, you wouldn't want to undertake such a strenuous task. Even if you had a mountain of gold and silver, you wouldn't dig. Even if you had a palace, you wouldn't live in it. Anything else, even if it could bring you $1 million income every day, you wouldn't do it. Only enjoyable games and entertainment are worth participating in. Once life reaches the top, everywhere in the world becomes home. A thatched house can provide shelter. The world's wind and cloud are all dramas. Planting vegetables and raising chickens become wonderful tunes. Once life has a small goal, everywhere becomes a battlefield. Always a time of crisis. Being scared and anxious and not sleeping well becomes the norm. Running around every day and being upset becomes a daily routine. Once life has no goal, you become a pawn on the social chessboard. You become the meat to be cut on the chopping board. You become the leeks growing in the field. You become the things that can be swept into the trash can at any time. People with ambitious goals will know where to go, what to do, will not waste life, We'll understand what the hardships and difficulties along the way mean. We'll get out of the rough and go to the flat. We'll understand what is human, what is celestial being, what is Buddha, what is God, what is demon, what is the animal world, what is human society. We'll clearly see the truth. Otherwise, you are just a mediocre being. 内心有苦无外诉. Do not speak of inner suffering. 写评. February 29th, 2024. Translation edited by Chinyu. All beings suffer. Who is without suffering? Food, clothing, shelter, transportation, birth, old age, sickness, and death are all sources of suffering. Suffering from life, old age, sickness, death, suffering from love and separation, suffering from resentment and hatred, suffering from unfulfilled desires, suffering from the burning of the 5 aggregates, and then there is the suffering of mortgage and car loan, the suffering of reluctance, and the suffering of, though there is surplus of wealth and power, it's hard to maintain a stable life. The elderly are often easily moved, and the autumn rain is hard to clear. It's often easy to start things but hard to accomplish them. It can be said, the whole family's suffering is hard to express. The sadness is heartbreaking. Everyone has suffering in their hearts. If you internalize the suffering, people will become strong, clear, rational, and open-minded. Once you tell people about your inner suffering everywhere, people will become weak, confused, willful, and pitiful. There is a phenomenon worth thinking about. That is, in human history, those who have achieved something are mostly not complainers, and the more people live at the bottom of society, the more complainers. In fact, the real situation is that the more successful people are, the more suffering they have in their hearts, but they never complain to others. The boss's suffering is actually more and more complicated than the worker's suffering. The president's suffering is more and more complicated than the common people's suffering, but the boss and the president do not complain. Suffering is a seed. If you suppress it in your heart, it cannot grow and sprout. Once you say it, it begins to sprout and grow, and you can no longer control it. Everyone has this kind of experience. Once you speak out the suffering in your heart, you will feel a little more relaxed, a little more comfortable. But then, the listener will start to feel uncomfortable. This is called the transfer of suffering, meaning that you transfer your own suffering to others, although the suffering is transferred out. But there is a sequelae, that is, the complainer becomes a suffering plague. Source in the eyes and hearts of others, suffering plague is similar. To the nature of the plague, people will avoid you in the future. So, your days will become more and more bitter. So, if you have suffering in your heart, bear it, don't ever speak out. As long as you don't speak out, you are a strong person. People will be willing to interact with you. Once you speak out, it signifies that you are a weak person. People will not want to interact with you. If you suffer for a long time, you will get sick. Your body will get sick. Your spirit and soul will also get sick. So you have to internalize the suffering in your heart. There are 3 ways to internalize. One is to learn to be grateful. Another is to actively and optimistically do things. The last one is to seek help from experts, for example. If you have spiritual suffering, then go to a psychiatrist. If you have psychological suffering, then go to a psychologist. If you have physiological suffering, then go to a physician. There is no need to tell people who are not experts, because even if you say it, it's useless. Since it's useless, why bother to say it? In summary, the more you complain about suffering, the more you suffer, and in the end, you will complain yourself into a dead end. Sweetness symbolizes heaven. Suffering symbolizes hell. People all want to move towards heaven. No one wants to move towards a person who often complains to others. 殖民的价值和文化入侵的益处. The merits of colonization and the benefits of cultural assimilation. 写评. March 25th, 2024. Translation edited by Chinyu. The merits of colonization and the benefits of cultural assimilation. Advocating for colonization and cultural assimilation is often seen as politically incorrect and even rebellious. I am aware that many people may criticize and denounce me for this. Although my knowledge is limited, I respect the facts. I spent a full 15 years living in Africa, during which I visited countries such as South Africa, Mozambique, Botswana, Angola, and Tanzania. I also experienced Zimbabwe's unprecedented inflation and currency devaluation. Around 1998, I noticed a trend. Across Africa, the earlier a nation gained independence, the worse its situation seemed to be. The independence of the developed nation of South Africa also confirmed this pattern. Around 2005, I asked my black gardener, was life better when you were ruled by the British, or after you gained independence and were ruled by your own people? He responded without hesitation, life was certainly better when we were ruled by the British. This leads to a discussion. For ordinary people, the pursuit of a comfortable, relaxed, wealthy, and healthy life should be paramount. In life, the pursuit of happiness, joy, freedom, and contentment should be prioritized. As ordinary people, it is a cognitive error to prioritize concepts, ideas, positions, and spiritual pride. In other words, it doesn't matter who rules, as long as they make my life comfortable, relaxed, wealthy, and healthy, and as long as they make my life happy, joyful, free, and contented, they are a good ruler. Conversely, if they make me live in anxiety, sorrow, fear, and poverty, they are not a good ruler. Since life was better under British rule, why strive for national independence? After independence, life became even harder. So what's the point of national independence? Britain once had more than 70 colonies, which have now all gained independence. What has been the result of this independence? There have been some success stories, such as the United States, but the vast majority of nations have seen their economies and the lives of their people deteriorate after independence. Countries such as Zimbabwe, Burma, South Africa, Zambia, Malawi, Sudan, Sri Lanka, Pakistan, Libya, Afghanistan, and others are examples of this. Who benefits from the independence of a colony? Only a few people benefit. For the majority of people, independence has led to poverty and backwardness. Now, let's discuss cultural assimilation. I lived in Canada for a full 7 years. This period of my life can be described as comfortable, free, relaxed, and calm. To exaggerate a bit, it felt like a paradise for ordinary people. I never experienced even a hint of discrimination. The police never visited my workplace or residence. I never experienced theft or robbery. No government department ever came to my workplace or residence for inspection or inquiry. I am currently running a small inn, and over the past 7 years, I have accommodated at least 5,000 guests. There has never been any trouble. All the guests have been respectful and civilized. In Canada, as long as you abide by the law and pay your taxes honestly, the rest is up to you. This is a reflection of Canadian culture. The healthcare, education, and retirement systems are all superior. So, for ordinary people who want to live a good life, who wouldn't like this kind of culture? Therefore, I pose a question. Isn't it beneficial for a civilized culture to invade a place that is barbaric, ignorant, backward, and impoverished? Between a barbaric war invasion and a civilized cultural assimilation, which would you choose? In fact, the term cultural invasion itself is problematic. It should be called cultural education. If a civilized culture invades a place that is barbaric, ignorant, backward, and impoverished, ordinary people should celebrate and embrace it with open arms. 避免碰撞. Avoiding collisions. 协防. March 27, 2024. Translation edited by Yu. Fruits, potatoes, and sweet potatoes, among others, should not be allowed to bump into each other, as the areas of impact are likely to rot. Vehicles such as cars, ships, and airplanes should avoid collisions. Once a collision occurs, they will suffer deformation and damage. Tribes, nations, and countries should avoid conflicts. The outcome of such conflicts often results in mutual defeat, or one party being dominated by the other. Even hard materials like stones and steel can fragment or even break when they collide with each other. From this, it's clear that in human interactions, people should also strive to avoid conflicts. Conflicts inevitably lead to harm, whether it's physical, mental, or emotional. Any part of the body, once injured due to a collision, can lead to disability and lifelong consequences. When people resort to name-calling, belittling, insulting, and attacking each other with harsh, vulgar, and negative words, it damages both their spirits and souls. As the saying goes, hatred sown in the heart will sprout. This hatred can last a lifetime, and given the opportunity, revenge is almost inevitable. Quarrels, arguments, and debates between people are essentially forms of conflict. While bystanders may find inspiration or even benefit from them, the party who loses in these disputes can end up feeling defeated, much like the losing rooster in a cockfight, leading to depression and difficulty recovering. This is a form of harm. One of the differences between earthly life and the life in heaven is that on earth, people are constantly in conflict with each other, whereas in heaven, conflicts among people do not exist. Therefore, to determine whether a person possesses heavenly qualities, observe whether they are constantly in conflict with others. Even occasional conflicts suggest a lack of these heavenly qualities. Those who are constantly involved in quarrels, arguments, and debates have no place in heaven. Behaviors such as condemnation, nitpicking, belittling, criticizing, questioning, cursing, insulting, and attacking others are all forms of conflict that can hurt the other party. However, the principle of every action has an equal and opposite reaction applies here, and the person initiating the conflict will also inevitably suffer an equal amount of damage. Therefore, on the journey of life, especially on the path to heaven, it is essential to strive to avoid conflicts. 诊断一下看自己是不是有精神疾病. Diagnosing whether you have a mental illness. Xiefeng. March 30th, 2024. Translation edited by Qinyu. Last night, I watched a video from Below 56 Degrees, titled Immigrating to Canada and Encountering Degenerate Chinese Individuals. My husband and I were given the ultimate immigration penalty. The female leads firmly advised to leave the Chinese community and stay away from Chinese people. She also stated, Chinese people remain Chinese, even when they are abroad. This morning, I happened to watch a video from Brain Hole Utopia discussing Lu Sun. Lu Sun wrote an article called Diary of a Madman, in which he described his view of Chinese history as follows. I opened the history book to check. This history has no chronology, and each page is filled with words like benevolence, righteousness, and morality. I couldn't sleep, and after carefully reading for half the night, I saw words between the lines. The entire book was filled with two words, cannibalism. In 1882, the U.S. Congress passed the Chinese Exclusion Act, which strictly prohibited Chinese from entering the United States. Without proper documentation, all were deported, and henceforth, no place was allowed to grant U.S. citizenship to Chinese people. In 1923, the Canadian government issued the Chinese Immigration Act, which is essentially Canada's Chinese Exclusion Act. The main content is to completely prevent Chinese from entering Canada. 5 months ago, a Chinese person in the Below 56 Degrees program advised to stay away from Chinese people. Lu Sun discovered that Chinese history is a history of cannibalism. Both the United States and Canada have enacted laws to resolutely prevent Chinese from entering their countries. I am not discussing the right or wrong of these views. I am just thinking. Regardless of whether the criticism and condemnation of others are correct, self-reflection is always beneficial. 3 years ago, when I entered the elevator at Kamloops Royal Inland Hospital in Canada, a Caucasian woman around 50 years old next to me said, "There are not many gentlemen like you nowadays." Why did she call me a gentleman? Because when I entered the elevator, I simply bowed slightly, placed my left hand on my chest, and extended my right hand in a "please go first" gesture. Now, let's diagnose ourselves to see if we have a mental illness. If one's mental state exhibits one or several of the following phenomena, it indicates that one has a mental illness. Once there is, then being discriminated against by others is inevitable. Feeling superior or inferior in one's heart. Feeling secretly happy when seeing others suffer, sin, be abused, and die. Enjoy bullying people weaker than oneself, flatter, and compliment people stronger than oneself. Arbitrarily judge others and qualify others based on hearsay and online comments. Always have doubts about everything, no trustworthy people. Indifferent to public affairs, everything starts from maintaining and expanding one's own interests. Only consider one's own feelings, not caring about others' feelings. always complain and condemn others, never looking for reasons from oneself, always in a state of anxiety, worry, fear, and resentment. Other medically recognized conditions such as delusional disorder, depression, schizophrenia, etc. If you exhibit any of the above 10 items, be careful, because you may have a mental illness. If you exhibit many items, it indicates that the mental illness is severe and requires treatment. 拥有100个妻子或100个丈夫之路. The path to having 100 wives or 100 husbands. Xiefeng. April 7th, 2024. Translation edited by Qinyu. Do you aspire to have 100 virtuous and charming wives, or 100 noble and competent husbands? Theoretically, this seems impossible, but in practice, it is entirely achievable. First and foremost, you should understand that this desire cannot be fulfilled through power or wealth. The wives and husbands you acquire through power and wealth may not necessarily be virtuous or competent. The golden key to having 100 or even more wives and husbands is, you must be on the path to heaven. What does it mean to be on the path to heaven? Your soul garden must be beautiful. In your soul garden, there should no longer be any weeds or poisonous plants such as jealousy, complaints, comparisons, accusations, nitpicking, greed, resentment, etc. Instead, it should be filled with flowers like gratitude, diligence, sincerity, trustworthiness, optimism, romance, humor, contentment, cleanliness, and so on. You must be selfless and possess nothing, willing to sacrifice yourself for the benefit of others. Your life's efforts should not be for yourself, but for others, and you should understand that the more people you serve, the greater your value becomes. You must live openly and honestly, exposing all aspects of yourself to the sunlight, even your psychological activities. You should be willing to reveal them to the public without any concealment. If you can achieve the above 3 points, having a beautiful soul garden, being selfless, and living openly and honestly, I can guarantee with 100% certainty that you will have 100 virtuous wives or 100 competent husbands. It's not just 100. In fact, there could be 1,000, 10,000, 1,000,000, or even more. Imagine when you have 100, 1,000, 10,000, a million, tens of millions of wives or husbands, what depth, breadth, and height will your perspective and state of mind reach? Are you already living in heaven? A word of caution for you is that you should have, not possess. Once you desire to possess, once you treat the other party as your private property and restrict their absolute freedom, then you will not have even one in this life, and you will wander on the edge of hell life after life. Is it difficult to have 100 virtuous wives or 100 competent husbands? If you are on the right path, it's not difficult at all. If you are on the wrong path, that's just a dream. 不想结婚就到生命产院来. If you don't want to get married, come to Life at Chanyuan. Xiefeng. June 17th, 2007. Translation edited by Jiejing. Possession narrows the heart. Marriage is a product of selfishness, its motive and purpose being to eternally possess the other person. Marriage is a fishing hook baited with fragrance. Once hooked, you will leave the freedom of the vast ocean and can only soak in a small pond, gazing longingly at the expansive sea. It's easy to get hooked but hard to get off. Once hooked by marriage, a person is drawn into a program called family. Once inside this program, everything is beyond your control, and you will be a slave to the family for life. There are no marriages or families in heaven. Jesus said that in the kingdom of heaven, people neither marry nor are given in marriage. Buddha demonstrated that to reach the Elysium world, one must break free from the family. Why get married? Why put a rope around your own neck? Why turn your precious life into a mess, neither human nor ghost? Is there really no other way to live? Human values hold that getting married and starting a family are natural and right. The Bible created Eve for Adam, and the two became one. Since then, no one has questioned the rightness of marriage and family. This belief has persisted from ancient times to today. And what is the result? Who is truly happy? Who is truly free? In the 1,000-year world where I have lived, there are no marriages or families. The happiness and freedom people enjoy there are incomparable to those on earth. That is the true human life. By comparison, Earth's people live as if in hell. The family is the main source of human suffering. As long as families exist, humanity will never reach an ideal state. Only selfish people want to get married and start a family. Only incompetent people look forward to marriage and family. Only sick people want to get married and start a family. Why should a free and lively fish leave the rivers and seas to suffer in a small pond, neither living nor dying? Is it sick? Why get married and start a family? For sexual enjoyment? Can't you enjoy sex without marriage and family? As long as both parties consent, do as you please. What does it have to do with others? What right do others and society have to deprive people of the sacred rights given by the greatest creator? What moral standards are there? If any, bringing happiness and satisfaction through sexual activity is the moral standard. Why get married and start a family? For a stable life? Is life necessarily unstable without marriage and family? Has humanity experimented with this? Should freedom and happiness be sacrificed for stability? If so, lying in a coffin buried in the ground would be supremely stable. Why get married and start a family? To continue the lineage? Can't the lineage continue without marriage and family? Those who want children can have them, those who don't can choose not to. Consider all children as your own, and won't the lineage continue? Why insist on biological offspring? To monopolize the earth? Why get married and start a family? For support and care in old age or illness. Don't worry, I have a solution. If 1 million people do not marry and start families, they can form a society, a large family of non-married individuals. When you are unwell, there will be someone to care for you. When you are old, there will be someone to support you and see you off. Why get married and start a family? Is it because your parents are pressuring you and you don't want to disappoint them? This can be tricky but also manageable. First, ask your parents a few questions. Parents are the first teachers in life, so requesting answers to a few questions should not be seen as disrespectful. Questions like, why get married? And then what? What comes after that? Where do people go after they die? If nothing remains after death, why get married? If people can be reincarnated after death, I'd rather reincarnate into a better place first, so why get married? Is the purpose of life just to get married and have children? What is life? Just because humans have been getting married and starting families since ancient times, does that mean I must do the same? Humans have suffered and toiled since ancient times. Should I follow in those footsteps and suffer as well? And so on. In short, parents should be respected, but asking them to answer a few questions is reasonable. If they cannot answer and still insist on you getting married, then you might have to comply. However, since they are the ones insisting, it is fair to expect them to provide housing, a car, and wedding expenses, and to help care for the children. If the couple has marital issues, the parents should help resolve them. Since parents are insisting on your marriage and family, they should take full responsibility. They should also live long enough to take care of their grandchildren, as they are the ones who wanted them. The grandson is what you want. The safety issue of the grandson going to college and working and getting married and starting a family should be properly arranged by the grandparents. If you don't want to get married and start a family, come to Life Genuine. As long as everyone lives according to Life Genuine values, I have thought of and resolved all potential issues you might encounter. Why love only one person? Love more people. The more, the better. Why must you propagate your lineage on earth? Spread it in the heaven. Still want to get married? Go ahead. Endure a lifetime facing a critical face. If you end up with someone with peculiar habits, you'll have to swallow your suffering silently. Want to read and meditate in your spare time? No way. Today, a distant cousin is getting married. Tomorrow, an uncle's sister-in-law is in the hospital. The day after, a distant Uncle Lou is having a funeral. You must attend all these events. You used to have just one set of parents. Now you have 2 sets. The number of relatives and friends has multiplied, and you must manage all these relationships. If your partner has a chronic illness, you can forget about having any leisure time for the rest of your life. If you want to give your parents some money, you need to apply for approval first. If it's not approved, you'll have to act like a thief, always on guard for those prying eyes behind you. Once caught, don't expect to be in a good mood for at least 3 days. When an old flame or a dear friend of the opposite sex calls after a long time, you might want to exchange sweet words, but you can only manage a few stiff sentences because someone is listening in. At a class reunion, you might want to express your heartfelt sentiments and let loose with old classmates. But with your spouse nearby, you have to behave to avoid misunderstandings and subsequent interrogations or scolding when you get home. Have a child, and if it's a prodigy, congratulations. But if the child is disabled, it will consume your worries for life. Remember, marriage and family are not novels filled with romantic plots. They are composed of numerous complicated and confusing details. Crying, making a fuss, and threatening to hang oneself, cursing, hitting, and wielding a knife are common and inevitable. Why get married? If you don't want to get married, come to Life Genuine. Let's figure out the best way to journey through life together. 警示篇，成熟庄稼的标志 The symbol of ripe crop. 雪峰 September 12010. The time for the harvest of crops will mark the end of this system. Angels will carry out the harvesting. Jesus, I am the angel to harvest the ripe crop. I will gather in the ripe crops and put them in the granary of the greatest creator. 1,000-year world, 10,000-year world, celestial island continent of the Elysium world. I will bring mankind to a new millennium, the era of Life Genuine. The so-called ripe crop refers to person with a perfect soul. The ripe crop that I will harvest has the following characteristics. Revere the greatest creator, revere life, revere nature, and follow the way of the greatest creator. Do not involve in marriage and family, do not involve in state, do not involve in political party, and do not involve in religion. Have no position, no property, no reputation, and no influence. Have no jealousy, complaint, and comparison. Have no selfishness, greed, and contention. Have no laziness, arrogance, and enmity. Have no anxiety, worry, and fear. Not self-opinionated, flexible and accommodating. Act in response to the will and follow the Tao. Be humble, kind, industrious, honest, faithful, unsophisticated, healthy, and civilized. Be good at games, like collective activities and collective life. Be outgoing and vivacious, and always remain happy and pleasant. Cling to celestial life rather than human life, to celestial relations rather than human relations. Follow the Tao of celestial beings rather than the Tao of man. Attach to the fairyland rather than the human world. Without the above 8 characteristics, the crop cannot be regarded as ripe crop. The unripe cannot be gathered in the granary, kingdom, of the greatest creator, and cannot enter the heavenly kingdom. I will lead the ripe crop to the heavenly kingdom 1,000-year world, 10,000-year world, celestial island continent of the Elysium world. The unripe crops will enter the Life Genuine era to continue their growth and development. As for the others, they are none of my business and have nothing to do with me. 人间和千年界的情爱观对照 A contrast between the view of love in human world and the view of love in 1,000-year world. Xiefeng, April 28, 2007. Human world. I have affection for you, and you must also have affection for me. I love you, and you must also love me. The 1,000-year world. I have affection for you, but you need not have affection for me. I love you, but you need not love me. Human world. I have affection and love for you. You must be responsible for my affection and love. The 1,000-year world. I have affection and love for you. You need not be responsible for my affection and love. Human world. Lovers will be united in marriage and family. The 1,000-year world. Lovers need not be united in marriage and family. Human world. I love only you. The 1,000-year world. I love all people. Human world. I have affection only for you. The 1,000-year world. I have affection for all people. Human world. There are reasons and conditions for affection and love. The 1,000-year world. There are no reasons and conditions for affection and love. Human world. You can only love me. The 1,000-year world. You must love all people. Human world. Affection and love is selfish. The 1,000-year world. Affection and love is unselfish. Human world. The soul and attentive constant love is most respectable. The thousand-year world. The sole and attentive constant love is most harmful to the collective and society. Human world. The couple who have affection and love for each other own each other. The thousand-year world. The couple who have affection and love for each other do not own each other. Human world. The couple who have affection and love for each other keep company with each other all their life. The thousand-year world. The couple who have affection and love for each other can part with each other anytime. Human world. One may worry that his or her love may be usurped by other people. The thousand-year world. One need not have any worry about love. Human world. I will protect my affection and love. The thousand-year world. I will release my affection and love. Human world. One must pay the cost for affection and love. The thousand-year world. Affection and love is natural and one need not pay any cost. Human world. My affection and love belong to you, and your affection and love belong to me. The thousand-year world. There is no affection and love that belongs exclusively to anyone. Human world. Without your affection and love, I will be overwhelmed with sorrow. The thousand-year world. Everyone has affection and love, and no one will be overwhelmed with sorrow because of affection and love. Human world. There is jealousy and resentment involved in affection and love. The thousand-year world. One will only experience joy and pleasure in affection and love and will not feel jealousy and resentment. Human world. I feel unhappy to see your affection and love for others. The thousand-year world. I feel happy to see your affection and love for others. Human world. Affection and love is restricted by morals and customs. Otherwise, it constitutes the abuse of affection and love. The thousand-year world. Affection and love is itself moral. There is no problem of abuse of affection and love. Human world. Affection and love is something to be pursued. The thousand-year world. Affection and love is the precious gift endowed by the greatest creator and is the nature of origin. Human world. Affection and love is the greatest obstacle to achieve the spiritual state of celestials and Buddha. The thousand-year world. Lack of affection and love is the greatest obstacle to achieve the spiritual state of celestials and Buddha. Human world. Secular affection and love is the principal factor to maintain the harmony and stability of society. The thousand-year world. Secular affection and love is the principal factor that contributes to the plight and afflictions of man and human society. 情爱中毒. The intoxication of love. 睡疯. June 29, 2010. Affection and love are the precious gifts bestowed to the humankind by the greatest creator. Like salt in dishes, affection and love can make the food delicious and delectable. However, what will happen if we take mouthfuls of salt or mix a lot of salt in the dishes? It is just terrible. There is no real poison in the world. Everything can be poison if the proper amount is exceeded. Heroin, arsenic, opium, morphine, marijuana, Dolantin, coca, cocaine, ice, ketamine, and ecstasy are all useful things if taken in an extremely small amount. Once the proper amount is exceeded, they are poisons. Oxygen is very good thing, right? But you may poisoned if you take high concentration, high flow, and high pressure of oxygen for an exceeded amount of time. Appropriate amount of wine can help regulate the circulation of blood, but we will be poisoned by alcohol if we take too much wine. We drink water every day, but we may be poisoned if we drink more water than kidney can handle. A proper amount of bee venom is beneficial to our health, but excessive dosage of it will kill us. Money is a very good thing, but if we are blinded by lust for money, money may prove the most lethal poison. Appropriate amount of desire is also a good thing, but it may prove to be a deadly poison if we are consumed by boundless avarice. Affection and love is a very good thing, but once we are blinded by it, affection and love will be the poison of life. In the proper amount, everything will be useful, but once the proper amount is exceeded, anything can be a poison. What kinds of affection and love are poisons of love? The affection and love between wife and husband is the poison of life. The affection and love between lovers is poison of life. The steadfast affection and love is poison of life. The fully devoted affection and love is poison of life. The hysterical affection and love is the poison of life. The intoxicating affections and love is the poison of life. The affection and love that makes it difficult for you to sleep and have any appetite is the poison of life. The affection and love with a solemn pledge is the poison of life. The affection and love that require a life of commitment is the poison of life. The above poisons of affection and love are all a result of excessive dosage. If you are emaciated for affection and love, if you are lost in a trance, if you become listless because of love, or if you die for love, you are poisoned by love, which is no different from the poisoning of heroin. People, take care. Be on guard against the love poisoning. The best way to prevent love poisoning is to learn from celestial beings in the thousand-year world. 百年惨烈地震与耶稣警示. A century's dreadful earthquakes and Jesus' revelation. 说风. January 19th, 2010. Jesus the Christ's revelation said, "And there shall be famines and pestilences and earthquakes in divers places. All these are the beginning of sorrows." Historically, human beings had never experienced such frequent earthquakes in the history. Please look at the following cataclysmic earthquakes all over the world. On December 28, 1908, the earthquake in Messina, Italy took more than 80,000 lives. On December 16, 1920, about 200,000 people were killed in the earthquake in Haiyuan, China. On September 1, 1923, in Japan, it was estimated that about 143,000 deaths in the Great Kanto earthquake. On October 5, 1948, in Turkmenistan, the Ashgabat earthquake took 110,000 lives. On May 31, 1970, the earthquake in Ancash, Peru killed about 70,000 people and 800,000 became homeless. In 1976, the death toll in the Great Tangshan earthquake in China was about 250,000. On December 26, 2004, Indian Ocean earthquake triggered a series of devastating tsunamis, and 227,898 people were killed according to official announcement. On October 8, 2005, about 79,000 were killed in the Pakistan Kashmir earthquake. On May 12, 2008, in China, the Sichuan earthquake killed 69,225 people and 17,923 were missing. On January 13, 2010, a strong earthquake struck Haiti, killing about 300,000 people. What do these frequent earthquakes mean? It means the beginning of circles of sorrows. Human beings are on the point of experiencing a period of unusual difficulties. Great tribulation is coming. Jesus told us, "For then shall be great tribulation, such as was not since the beginning of the world to this time. No, nor ever shall be. And except those days should be shortened, there should no flesh be saved." But for the elects refers to the Chanyuan celestials on Book of Life noted by Dayform Buddha, sake those days shall be shortened. For as the lightning comes out of the east, and shineth even unto the west, so shall also the coming of the Son of Man be. Immediately after the tribulation of those days shall the sun be darkened, and the moon shall not give her light, and the stars shall fall from heaven, and the powers of the heavens shall be shaken. And he shall send his angels with a great sound of a trumpet, and they shall gather together his elect, refers to the Chanyuan celestials on Book of Life noted by Dayform Buddha, from the four winds, from one end of heaven to the other. The Life-Chanyuan era will start then. We must be alert and keep watch because we are at a turning point in human history. Believe it or not, it's up to you. 不要把希望寄托在人身上. Do not lay your hopes on a person. Xiefeng. July 9, 2020.